All right, well, we're here today to talk about the results of a more than year-long multi-agency, as you can see, a multi-jurisdictional investigation into a major stolen car ring in Denver and the metro area. I'm joined here today by prosecutors from my office. Where are they? Ashley Beck and Allison Foley, who are behind me, and also joined by Commander John Pickard from the Colorado Metro Auto Theft Task Force, Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Downing from the Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority, David Oleski, the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the DEA's Rocky Mountain Field Division, Tim Linsing, who's the Acting Special Agent in charge of Homeland Security Investigations in Denver, Kent Prose, the Supervisory Special Agent of the National Insurance Crime Bureau, and Lieutenant Matt Canino of the Denver Police Department Special Investigations Bureau. So as you can see, a lot of agencies, a lot of collaboration among the different federal and state agencies and city. As a result of this investigation, a Denver grand jury recently returned a 222 count indictment that named 17 defendants and charged them with numerous violations of the Colorado Organized Crime Control Act, which we call COCA, more than 100 counts of auto theft, more than a dozen counts of drug possession and distribution, and various other charges. It is alleged that between September 2022 and February 2024, the defendants stole at least 190 vehicles, typically high-end pickup trucks, resulting in the loss of approximately $9.5 million. The majority of the vehicles were stolen between May and October of last year. The defendants are alleged to have coordinated the transportation of the stolen motor vehicles to Mexico, where the vehicles were then given to drug cartel members in exchange for cocaine and methamphetamine that was then imported into the United States and brought into Denver. Because of the significant increase in stolen cars in Denver since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, it has been a top priority of my office to prosecute auto theft cases, whether they involve one car or 190. Last year, my office filed 1,026 motor vehicle theft cases, and so far this year, we have charged 1,038. To give you some context for that, in 2019, the last full year before the pandemic, we charged 682 cases. So almost doubled. These indictments should send the message that people who steal cars in Denver will be caught and will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. I'm glad to say that the number of stolen cars in Denver has decreased dramatically over the past 2 years, thanks in large part to the incredible work of the people standing up here and our Denver law enforcement community. I'm confident that the arrests of these 17 defendants will drive the number of stolen cars even lower. I really want to take a moment to thank all of the law enforcement officers who worked long hours side by side on this lengthy investigation to keep our city safe. This was a complicated and comprehensive effort on the part of many of our law enforcement agencies and individual members. It is not always the case that we see the cooperation and collaboration that we have seen in this case. And I am truly grateful that there was no infighting and there was a lot of cooperation to bring these investigations to a successful conclusion. And I also want to specifically thank the members of my office who have worked long and hard because I've seen them and talked to them about putting these cases together. Doing a grand jury investigation is complicated to begin with, but adding the number of individuals we're talking about here and the number of charges It's very difficult to get that all put together in a comprehensive way that the grand jury can understand. So I really am appreciative of all of the work of my office as well as all of the law enforcement folks. It is now my pleasure to introduce Lieutenant Josh Downing from the Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority, who will say a few words followed by several of our other partners on the case, and then we'll be glad to answer some questions. Josh?
Thank you. Good morning. I am Josh Downing. I have the privilege of serving as a Lieutenant Colonel for the Colorado State Patrol. I'm also a board member of the Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority. It's a grants office within the Colorado State Patrol whose mission is to reduce auto theft statewide through grant programs. Many of our grantees are involved in the investigation on this case and are reflected in the partners that stand gathered with us today. The strength of our partners in law enforcement and government is the key to the success you have heard about from District Attorney McCann this morning. The number of cars stolen by this group was no small task to investigate or prosecute. Because of the sheer volume of crimes committed by these individuals, the large geographical area, and the impact that these crimes have on public safety, it is absolutely what it takes is the collaboration to get all these agencies involved to get us to where we are today. Each of these stolen vehicles did not just affect the one owner or the singular location the vehicle was stolen from. This case demonstrates the negative impact each stolen vehicle has on the entire state and our citizens. Each of these stolen vehicles was a noted financial loss to their owner, but also had a negative impact on each of their way of lives. The victims lost their method of transportation to go to work, lost their ability to pick up or take their children to school, and lost the freedoms that come with transportation, that comes with having transportation. Further, these defendants intended to jeopardize the safety of Coloradans and the visitors to our state because of their intent to distribute and profit from the distribution of illegal drugs into our communities using these stolen vehicles. Investigating and prosecuting this complex crime group would not be possible without the willingness of each department to work together. Local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, district attorneys' offices, and government offices across the state continue to break down archaic barriers to better serve our communities through the mission of alignment and one unified goal of making Colorado a safer place. As we work better to protect Colorado, we ask our community members to take an extra step and learn about how to protect your car from all types of auto theft. So please visit lockdownyourcar.org. Has a lot of information about how to keep your car safe and things to do to prevent your car from being stolen. And also on your lockdownyourcar.com, the victims of auto theft we have resources there that they can apply for on that website to help them through when they are a victim of this crime. I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to speak today, and just great work in collaboration by all the members that brought this case today. So thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. And now Kent Prose is going to speak.
Good morning. My name is Kent Prose, and I'm a Supervisory Special Agent with the National Insurance Crime Bureau. NICB is a nonprofit that was founded over 100 years ago to assist law enforcement, consumers, and the insurance industry in combating auto theft. As Ms. McCann mentioned, with the COVID lockdowns and such, Colorado skyrocketed up to the #1 state in per capita thefts, and that included a lot of the thefts out in DIA. Those went up 72% from 2021 to 2023, and the cost to every single insured person in Colorado is significant. A lot of that, some of the cost of your insurance is based on where we are in terms of the per capita auto theft rate. I'm happy to say that since 2023, beginning in about August of 2023, the number of auto thefts in Colorado has dropped considerably. Just for example, I read this morning from NICB stats that Colorado, from third quarter 2024 to third quarter 2023 comparison, we're down over 30%. So and we've dropped from #1 in per capita theft. I'm very glad to hear that. So I just wanted to thank law enforcement for their great work on all of this, and hopefully we'll see this reflected sometime soon in our auto rates. Thanks.
Thank you, Kent. And now we have David Oleski, who will speak to you from the DEA.
Good morning. My name is David Oleski, and I'm an Assistant Special Agent in charge with the Drug Enforcement Administration here in Denver. I want to thank District Attorney McCann and your team for leading the prosecution against this organization. I also want to thank my colleagues in law enforcement here with us today, notably your personnel who are agents at DEA. We're honored to work alongside to achieve this investigative success. At DEA, we regularly highlight the public health threat to our communities brought by the Mexican cartels through the trafficking of fentanyl. This investigation highlights the other aspects of the cartels and the role they and their networks have on our communities with respect to public safety and violent crime. The evidence gathered throughout the course of this investigation revealed the sophistication, coordination, and operational capabilities of this group. It is something akin to what we might see in a Hollywood movie. This network targeted vehicles here in the Denver metro area, which were desired by Mexico-based drug trafficking organizations, which could best be modified to support ballistic armor, as well as be mounted with high-caliber munitions and firearms. The preferred vehicles to steal were larger pickup trucks like F-250s and Raptors and high-end SUVs. The fact these stolen vehicles were being exchanged for cocaine, fentanyl, and other illegal drugs in Mexico show this group's sophistication and business acumen. The Mexico-based drug cartels are a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. While the trafficking of illegal drugs may be their principal source of revenue, their lines of business include arms trafficking, human trafficking, and this investigation also affirmed stolen vehicles. I'm often asked with respect to fentanyl, why would the cartels want to sell a product which would kill their customer? And my answer has been, while they aren't trying to kill their customers, the business is so profitable they don't care if you die in the process. That is the same with respect to this stolen car operation. These weren't simply individuals looking to steal a car for a joyride. This was a multi-million-dollar international enterprise which robbed far too many here in the state of Colorado. Our DEA agents were able to link this group to the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful Mexico-based organizations, notably responsible for the trafficking of fentanyl and methamphetamine into our nation. The key to this operation's success has been the collaboration across the various agencies, each one contributing expertise and resources to disrupt and dismantle this network. At DEA, we are proud to have been a part of this operation and will continue to follow the evidence and intelligence obtained to target and apprehend those most accountable here and in Mexico who are responsible for these crimes. And with that, I just want to say thank you to our collective team up here. You give it back to the district attorney.
Thank you, David. And now we'll hear from Tim Linson from Homeland Security Investigations.
Good morning. My name is Tim Linson, and I am the Acting Special Agent in charge for Homeland Security Investigations here in Denver. Thank you all for being here today. I want to take a moment to recognize the incredible teamwork and dedication that made this operation a success. This was truly a collaborative effort between local, state, and federal partners, and I'm honored to stand here with my law enforcement colleagues as we announce these significant developments. First, I want to thank the Colorado Metropolitan Auto Theft Task Force. They initiated this investigation, secured prosecution and support from the Denver District Attorney's Office, and aggressively identified and pursued multiple cells operating in the Denver area. Their thorough work set the foundation for success in this case. This case is an outstanding example of local agencies leveraging federal support and utilizing Homeland Security investigations to pursue complicit offenders in other states and countries. HSI's ability to leverage proprietary analytical tools, resources, and support from HSI offices and other jurisdictions allowed the team to identify the full scope of this transnational criminal organization. HSI's work uncovered key co-conspirators operating in both Texas and Mexico, It provided vital evidence and testimony to target some of the most significant offenders. Additionally, we are grateful to the Denver District Attorney's Office. Their aggressive pursuit of this investigation and unwavering support for all law enforcement actions ensured that justice will be served in this complex and high-stakes case. The suspects in this investigation represent an international polycrime organization that posed a significant threat to public safety. Their criminal activities included vehicle theft, narcotic smuggling, which contributed to the proliferation of cocaine and methamphetamine in the Denver area. They also used violence to protect their operations. These actions harm our communities and endanger innocent lives and law enforcement personnel. Today's results are a testament to the strength of our partnerships and our shared commitment to protecting the public from those who seek to profit through criminal enterprise. Thank you to everyone who played a role in this important work.
Thank you, Tim. And now we will be open to some questions. Got a lot of them, yes.
Can one of you address what it took to get all this information from Mexico? It sounds like a lot of the investigation did take place there. I'm also wondering, since Colorado obviously is not on the border, why would this be happening here as opposed to a border state?
Who wants to answer that one? One of you guys. Anyone?
I can briefly address it.
Okay, go ahead. Tim.
As it relates to gathering information from Mexico, HSI and I know DEA, we both have offices that are stationed in Mexico. So we will work with our counterparts, both DEA and HSI in those different cities, to work with the local law enforcement there in Mexico to assist us. So we will gather information with some of our vetted units within that country.
Will there be arrests in Mexico?
Will there be? Yes, we're working through that. That's still in process, though.
I can answer the geography question.
Okay.
I would say in terms of the
Come on
geography.
up, you have to be, and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Allie Foley. I'm a prosecutor with the Denver DA's office. In terms of the geography, I would say that Denver is uniquely geographically situated in that we have a major international airport and we have a lot of surrounding states which don't have the same access to international travel or other flights. You have a lot of people driving in, generally from the mountains, generally in four-wheel drive vehicles or larger pickup trucks, who are coming to Denver for the purposes of being able to take a long flight or to travel somewhere for a significant amount of time. We are also on I-25 and on I-70, which makes moving vehicles out of the city and county of Denver relatively easy. Some of these individuals have explained to us that they were able to get in a car in the city and county of Denver. They drove straight south until they dropped the car off in El Paso, and that ended their role in this part of the organization. But if you're driving straight through from Denver to El Paso, Texas, it's really not that much time spent in the car, and oftentimes these vehicles were taken from DIA or surrounding airport hotels and were transported to El Paso and then into Mexico before the owner had returned from a trip and even noticed their vehicle had been taken.
How many of the 190 were from DIA in the surrounding areas?
The overwhelming majority. A lot of airport hotels, the hotels in the area, offer travelers the option of staying one night at their hotel and then leaving their vehicle for free while they travel. And so those became very desirable targets as well.
How involved the suspects that we see up there? Are they like soldiers for the Sinaloa cartel? Are they kind of periphery people? How would you describe them?
I'll take that one.
Each of the individuals pictured on this board played a slightly different role within the organization. Some of these individuals were directly tied into the cartel and are currently, we believe, located in Mexico. Other individuals are local individuals whose role was as sort of a boots on the ground motor vehicle thief. Some of the other individuals were responsible for the transportation of the vehicles from Colorado to El Paso or all the way into Mexico. Other individuals orchestrated the exchange of controlled substances for those vehicles, and then the distribution of those controlled substances within our community.
As a follow-up, so are we talking, some of these are Colorado residents or some Mexican nationals? How would you describe them?
Both.
And how many are in custody?
Right now, we have 11 of the 17 co-defendants in custody.
And are the rest of them in Mexico?
There are some that we believe to be in Mexico, others we believe may be located in Texas, and others who we have strong information are at large in our community, and we're actively working to apprehend them.
Will any of these vehicles be able to be given back to the owners?
Yes, some of the vehicles, specifically those which were recovered in the Denver metro area before they were transported south, were able to be returned to the owners.
And the drugs that were gotten in exchange for some of these vehicles, were they sold strictly in Denver or Colorado as a whole?
Difficult to say. The best information we have is that the controlled substances which were being provided to some of these individuals in exchange for the trucks were being distributed in the Denver metro area.
Can you address some of the other items that we see visuals of? So we're not talking just cars or vehicles are recovered, but there's all kinds of other stuff.
Would you like to discuss that?
Introduce yourself. Come up here.
Sure. Hi, good morning. My name is Ashley Beck. I'm a senior deputy district attorney in Denver in our economic crimes unit. So yes, the vast majority of this investigation centered on obviously stolen motor vehicles. As has been discussed, we also had cocaine coming into our community, and so there were some drugs seized. Significant amounts of money were recovered. In some of the vehicles, there were firearms. And so when your vehicle gets broken into or stolen, those firearms then become guns that are available to these defendants and then ultimately in our community. And so we had a number of those things recovered and stolen as well. There are specific tools that motor vehicle thieves can use, and so we recovered some of those tools that they use to manipulate basically and create key fobs so that they can facilitate their stealing of motor vehicles. So it really was pretty overarching.
Can you go into that a little bit more about them replicating key fobs, how that worked out?
Sure. I mean, it's a fairly technical process, but basically there is a tool that you can buy readily available on Amazon and other platforms that you can basically just reprogram keys. So if you've got a Ford key, you may be able to program that to go into a Toyota or vice versa, and it basically just facilitates the taking of these motor vehicles.
So they weren't like physically breaking into the trucks, they were able to kind of like electronically gain access then?
It usually requires some physical manipulation of the door lock or the handles to get into the vehicle, and then you can essentially plug a tool in, and I'm probably not the best person to be describing this specific mechanism, but once you are into the vehicle, you can plug in some tools and basically kind of reprogram and deactivate it so that the owner cannot track their vehicle. They essentially get a notification that says your car is no longer online. It's now associated with a new key fob and now in possession and control of another criminal.
Is that how most of these were stolen?
The vast majority, yes. Yeah.
And what would you say to people buying to park at DIA?
You know, I think it's improved dramatically since law enforcement has worked to get this crew as well as some other crews in custody. And so I think motor vehicle thefts are dramatically decreasing. You know, just lock your car, make sure you don't have spare keys, make sure you're not leaving things on the seat that are readily apparent such that people might want to break into your car or want to steal your car. Park in well-lit areas, park in a garage if you can, you know, with surveillance footage. You can't live your life in fear, but there are certainly steps that you can take to try to make your car not be victimized. I think one of the presenters earlier had talked about a website.
Yeah, lockdownyourcar.org.
Lockdownyourcar.org. So folks can just visit that and take any suggestions or ideas that they have on there too to help become not a victim.
Also, the Denver police have really done an excellent job of trying to address this issue of motor vehicle theft in Denver. I don't know if you want to say anything, Lieutenant, but I know there's been a lot of work done to try to reduce the number of car thefts.
Hi, my name is Matt Canino with the Special Investigation Section in Denver, and I didn't have any prepared remarks. But so I manage a team that is both part of the CMAP for a task force, but I also have a Denver Auto Theft Team that is just Denver detectives. So it's not a task force, but they go out daily, they find stolen cars daily, and they return these cars to the owners pretty much on a daily basis. So I think their efforts and the efforts combined with CMAT, the enforcement, I think that these car thieves are starting to feel the heat. So I think that's what is reflected in the lower, I think we're up to 34% reduction. Thank you.
Year over year?
I'd also like to add, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd also like to add the airport, Denver Police Department, CAPA, the Colorado State Patrol, over the past 6 to 8 months to a year has really worked really hard to identify ways to reduce auto theft specifically out of DIA, and I will give kudos to the airport. They have significantly increased the number of surveillance cameras that they have. They've put up hard barriers around parking lots out there to make it more difficult to get the car out. So they've taken significant steps to combat auto theft out there in partnership, obviously, with Denver Police Department and all the other law enforcement agencies out there. So.
Do those partnerships also include hotels and RTD?
Absolutely. Yep. We've worked with the hotels in the area off of Tower Road, so all of those areas. Yep.
Yeah. I'm John Pickard. I'm the commander of the CMAT, and in answer to the protection of the vehicles, some of the things we discovered in a couple of cases is individuals putting trackers in their vehicles. The standard ones can oftentimes were disabled, but if you took your own and you hid something in your vehicle, we had an individual who flew out to Florida and was able to call us because his little whatever that device is, I'm not a commercial, but they had their tag in the car, and we were able to track the vehicle down and recover it while he was in Florida. So something that would notify you of your car being moved that's not readily identifiable, that was very helpful. I know Denver has a Denver tracking program, so anything you have in terms of that with the technology we have in the world, and also some visual that can protect, make it look like the vehicle's been hardened, like there's the club. We actually had an incident where an individual took some multiple chains and wrapped it around his steering wheel within his cab of his vehicle, and it was not stolen. So there are some different methods. We even actually have a picture of a boa constrictor in one of the cars. So yeah, there are different ways, but there are ways to keep it safe, and impressively so, DIA is way down in terms of their thefts.
And can you or the lieutenant expand on that? You said 34% reduction. What are the numbers? What are the stats? How far down are we from when to when?
Well, I can tell you that, and I didn't look at them this week, but roughly we've been averaging in 2024 23% less vehicles stolen compared to 2023, and from 2023 to 2022 we were roughly 24% as well. So almost, that's the Denver metro area, and that's kind of my focus, is the metro area. So we're almost to 50% less stolen vehicles in the last 2 years that we were when we were at the peak of the #1 per capita. I can tell you that we are still, we're still in the top 10, and so there's still a lot of activity, so it shows you how far high we were in that terms of bringing it down.
How much prison time are some of these defendants potentially facing? Can you talk about the legal consequences?
I can't talk about the ones that just were, but I can tell you the two that recently made the media. We had one in our last COCA case that got 24 years, another one pled, and these were people who pled guilty, and 20 years was the other one, I believe, that pled guilty. They didn't even go to trial. Oops, sorry.
Are all 17 defendants charged with COCA?
No, not all 17 defendants. COCA requires at least 2 acts of racketeering activity, and not all of these individuals are charged with COCA. A conviction on a COCA, which is a Class 2 felony in the state of Colorado, carries a possible Department of Correction sentence of 8 to 24 years on the low end, 16 to 48 years on the aggravated end. The controlled substances offenses, which several of these individuals are charged with, carry a mandatory Department of Correction sentence of between 12 and 32 years.
Anybody up on that board, the ringleader?
I think it is fair to say that the individual in the upper left-hand corner, identified as Joaquin Orozco Ponce, was the head of the organization.
So the guy at the top left, correct?
Yes.
Adrian Trokas,
That was his moniker.
that was his moniker. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like why he, like, was he given that nickname because he was like the ringleader?
We don't know the origin of that nickname. We do know that several of the individuals who were working for him only know him as Adrian.
And was this an Sinaloan drug cartel person, or?
That's what our investigation has revealed at this point.
Is he in Mexico right now? Is he one of the ones that's?
We believe he is in Mexico, and his bond on this case has been set in the amount of $10 million cash only.
What's the likelihood that he will be arrested in Mexico?
We're working with the Department of Justice to try and secure his apprehension and return.
Question, particularly maybe for Tim here. How you see these cars go through the Mexico border? How and they're stolen, but how can they get across so easily? What's the process at the border to identify these cars and the people inside them?
Well, I'll briefly overview that. The outbound, there is limited inspections depending on what port of entry that you're going through. And then on the Mexico side, they deal with it, so they won't have the same access to knowing whether the car is stolen or not.
The ones that are in custody, I hate to use the word easy, but did they come under arrest without any conflict, or how did the arrest go?
Several of the individuals were already in custody, facing other charges and being held on other cases. The other individuals were taken into custody without any incident.
Any other questions? All right, well, once again, thank you for coming, and again, thank you for, I want to thank the members of our law enforcement community who've worked so hard on this really complicated case, and I think it's reassuring for us in the Denver community to know that we have this kind of cooperation and collaboration among federal, state, and local authorities to address situations that come up like this, where we had this dramatic rise in auto thefts. I think we saw that the law enforcement community responded very quickly and very appropriately, and we are now, of course, seeing that dramatic decrease. Also, this case isn't over, so now my office will be prosecuting the case through the Denver District Courts, and it'll take a while, but we're very optimistic with all of the investigation that's gone into this case and the quality of the people who've done the investigation, that we will see successful outcomes in the court, and that these people will be held responsible and accountable for the crimes that they have committed. So thanks again for coming.